back, my friends, to the In Obscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal. Hey, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, get off.
That excited Ronnie James Dio over there.
He didn't like that.
No.
Grabbed onto me.
Yeah, he's like, hey, quit yelling. Chilling out in here.
A podcast where we exhume... Did I already say that?
Say it again.
Podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk... Oh, yeah, I just did that.
Okay.
And we put them in one of three categories.
Do we exhume stuff?
We exhume it.
We exhume it?
Yes,
Okay.
we
just
do.
make sure you said that.
And we put them in one of three categories. The lost, the forgotten, or the should have beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and that over there, you're not going to believe who it is. It is Pepe Apollo.
Pepe, that's right. Damn right it is.
How's it going this week, Pepe?
Going great. Out of breath because I was chasing the dog around the room trying to tire him out before the podcast.
Is that why he grabbed onto my leg? Did you get a little randy over there?
Well, I don't know if he was getting randy or just telling you to, be sure to hit record this time.
Yes, this is the second attempt at the podcast tonight. So here we go. A little tip for those of you wanting to start your own podcast. Hit the record button.
Yeah.
It always helps. Always.
But we caught it. We caught it very quickly.
Little tip for those of you out there.
How far did we get that one time before we realized it wasn't recording? Was that like 50 minutes?
Yeah. And then we actually, I remember the look on your face. You're really? Am I going to say no or am I going to say yes? You said yes.
I said yeah.
We went ahead and did it, but you weren't happy.
No, but it was really good stuff. I think I was unhappy because, man, I was just on fire that night. Not really.
In fuego.
I just couldn't remember what I said. I was trying to repeat it, but then I couldn't remember what I'd said 10 minutes earlier.
So what's going on with you this week?
Oh, just having fun. Yeah, so you saw me. Kevin comes over early. I'm like, hey, let me just get a quick bite to eat. I'm going to just make a sandwich so I don't get hungry during the middle of the podcast and go to make a sandwich, and sandwich meat's expired. Oh, man.
Sour chicken.
It was nasty. Even though, I swear, I got that like 3 or 4 days ago. It must have been a couple of weeks, but it seemed like 3 or 4 days.
Well, at least you noticed before you ate.
Yeah, I was suspicious. I was like, hang on a second. And then, so Ronnie James DOG got a nice snack before the podcast, but I got a cheese sandwich.
Because he licks his butt. He doesn't care.
Dogs don't care about expiration dates. I mean, he eats squirrels and rabbits from the backyard that have questionable integrity, so we'll see.
Well, after you eat questionable meat, go listen to Pot of Thunder, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Slamfest Podcast, Decibel Geek, A to Z Radio, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Hustle, Disciples of the Watch, Podcast Rock City, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Podkiss, The Kiss Room, Ages of Rock, Retro Zest Podcast, The Synaptic Empire, and don't forget about Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us at inobscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go over and buy some swag. You got to get a t-shirt, In Obscuria t-shirts.
Yes.
They're going crazy right now. We've sold at least one.
Hey, you know what? Somebody's got to pay for this joint around here.
Exactly. All right. So it is March 2022. And man, there's just a lot going on in the world right now. I don't know how you feel, but I'm like super frustrated and angry just because of things going on throughout the world right now. It's like we had a plague that engulfed the entire world. We're just starting to see the light of day and get out of it. And then some idiot tyrant starts a war that could escalate into something really huge. So
yes,
it's like there's no
break.
Just no
there was
break
no break
for us.
We don't get a
these
breather.
Days. So
no, it's back like it was 1986, worrying about some
now we're worried about some dickhead pressing
Russia,
a button.
Yeah, exactly. Short man over there.
So for me,
I'm getting a little bit of joy watching the Ukrainian farmers steal tanks. That's if there's a bright spot in all of this, that is the bright spot for me.
Yeah, go Ukraine. I mean, what the hell, man?
Dude.
It makes the warrior in me want to come out, and it makes me want to rant a little bit like a madman. And that's today why we're going to discuss Words and Thoughts by this man.
Green piss, time gods pissing soft sonic cement, black charred worlds and broken human necks, sorrow softly singing through memories of truth. Killing is our business, cash for the cruel and flesh for the cool. Mr. Big in the House of Lords. Population psych out, someone feeds the hordes. Feed 'em flies and feed 'em death and sex. Hide the bullshit under the rugs. We're the leaders of millions and we cut the cards. No money for the fucking retards. They can pay for roads, so take a ride, it's smooth waste. Their economy, we won't get screwed. Industrial centuries forever. The destruction!
It's nice to be back in New York City, I'll tell you that. You wouldn't believe how many fucking morons there are in this country. I swear to fucking God, this is the only place left.
Stop! Look, I won't! If I'm gonna be in this band, there's only 5 ways I'm gonna do it.
Which way?
I'd like to tell you right now that I need a steady flow of alcohol. I'm the best bloody drummer in the fucking world. I am the best.
You're a wanker!
And this goes out to Geffen Records. Yeah, blow!
Where did you get that audio of me after I'd had a few drinks? You're a wanker!
Yeah. So if you don't know, if you're in the know, you know, that was Mr. Kory Clarke, which means that today is episode 119, Grave Mistake, Warrior Soul, Shoulda Been Huge, part 1.
Ooh,
So,
teasing us.
Yes. So we have featured this band twice on the show. We did it in episode 33. It was a wild card episode with Jeremy Zamora.
Yes.
And we played a song by this band, and both of you were like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
you didn't get a
You
point.
stumped me.
You didn't get a point, but you're like, I don't know who that is, but I like it. And I said at that time, at some point, we're going to cover this in depth a little bit.
And we finally got to that point.
And then in episode 83, last year we had Ghost Fest. Warrior Soul played our Ghost Fest.
True. That was a good concert. It wasn't crowded at all.
Yes, an American alternative metal band-ish. Yeah. They were formed by lead singer, songwriter, producer Kory Clarke. And he's originally from Detroit, and then he moved to New York City when he did his spoken word stuff, and then eventually that turned into Warrior Soul. So originally in Detroit, he was in a band. He was actually the drummer in a band called The Trial, and it was funded by a drug dealer buddy.
That's why it's good to have them around. Many reasons, but that's one of the reasons why it's good to have them around.
And the drug dealer's name was Charlie. Later, there is a Warrior Soul song called Charlie's Out of Prison.
Time to party.
And then he also collaborated in The Trial with the kind of infamous Kim Fowley, who was the man behind The Runaways.
Oh, yeah.
So he's
creepy
a creepy dude and, you know, kind of shady.
Kind of.
Kind of a shady character.
Capital, kind of.
But he also was brilliant, and he, you know, any band he worked with, he pretty much did good for them as far as music goes. But yeah, shady character. So The Trial was a little too volatile to exist, so it sort of imploded with all the drugs and the jail and money and all this stuff going on. So Kory moves to New York. And like I said, he becomes a spoken word guy because there was this whole underground scene. This is mid-late 80s when he moves.
Okay.
And there was also a sleaze metal scene just starting up. So think of a band that we've played, Cycle Sluts from Hell, Monster Magnet, White Zombie. They were all New York bands at that time just starting off.
Yeah.
In sort of that kind of sleazy New York. It's not hair band.
Nope.
It's metal, but it's not thrash. So it was just sleazy. And so he started doing the spoken word thing, and then eventually it was Kory Clarke, Warrior Soul was kind of his name, and then eventually it just became a band. And when he was doing his spoken word, he would even go so far as to put a gun to his head, and like he did the whole
performance art
deal. And that's, you know, he's known to rant, and that's what I just played. It was some of his ranting. Bit of a madman, bit of a crazy person. Warrior Soul, a little bit scary. I remember when I first got into him, I was like, it kind of scared me a little bit because they're a little political, a little outspoken.
It's not just some guys pretending to be mean.
Yeah, they're kind of the real deal.
We're wearing leather, so we're badasses, but we're really just musicians.
Yeah, kind of the real deal here. So in 87, they signed to Geffen Records after only being around for 9 months. And they got a pretty good deal.
But he was just cursing Geffen Records.
We're going to get to that.
Well, that didn't take long to go south.
Think about who he is and working with the corporate Geffen Records. Records. Probably not the best marriage. And we'll find out that it's not. But I remember thinking of this band sort of, I didn't know it at the time, but when Rage Against the Machine came out, I thought, oh, they're kind of similar. Like,
it's funny you say that because during the intro, I was going to make a crack about how that sounded like it was really early Rage Against the Machine before they got even heavier. But
it's kind of that same, like a band with a more than just rocking. They have a purpose.
They have an agenda.
They're anti-big government, anti-establishment, yet Warrior Soul, they're a little more sleazy. And Warrior Soul is what I consider one of those in-betweener bands because they were in between the hair metal and the thrash that was going on in the metal world of the 80s and then the alternative and the grunge that came in the 90s. Their first album came out in 1990. They're somewhere in between that, and there's several bands that are like that where they either get in one category or the other, but really they're in between.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned how Rage Against the Machine, I said they have an agenda. They're fighting the establishment, whereas Warrior Soul is just wanting to fight somebody. Really, that's the difference. They just want to fight.
Yeah, they definitely are fighting the establishment too. But so it took, once they got signed in 87, it took 2 years for them to get their first album out. And part of the reason is because of Kory's mouth. So in the press, he went to war with everyone. Like, they're touring with Danzig. He didn't like Danzig, so he spouts his mouth off about Danzig. Their label mates, who happened to be one of the biggest bands in the world at the time, Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
He badmouthed them.
Pick a fight with them.
He picked a fight with them. The label asked him very nicely to stop, and he said no. And then they said, stop doing the fucking poetry on stage. Cut out all the political stuff you're doing. And he said no. So finally they get their album out in 1990. They ended up making 4 albums with Geffen, and the last 2 were very contentious, and we'll talk about that. They never managed to crack the cult status, partly because of Kory's just the way he was, and partly it just was one of those bands that just didn't work because they were that in-betweener. Some people say that, they could have been as big as Metallica or Guns N' Roses if Kory would have just kept his mouth shut sometimes and play the game. So I mentioned they're an in-betweener. I think they're similar to another band we've talked about, Galactic Cowboys. I think they're similar to King's X, Saigon Kick, and even I would throw Extreme in there. Bands that they were put into categories, yet they were in between.
Well, can I add Corrosion of Conformity? Been listening to them a lot.
Another good one. They started off as a punk band, and then they became
were
something
they metal?
else.
Were they grunge? It just depends on what day of the week, which song it was. They blend to all those.
Yep, absolutely. So 11 albums from Warrior Soul, 1990 to 2022, and that's the reason we were having this episode. Their new album, Out on Bail, just released. Released March 4th of this year. So I thought it was a great time to talk about Warrior Soul since they had a new album out. So Kory does not only Warrior Soul stuff, he does solo records. He was in a trucker metal band, which is really good.
Trucker metal
called Dirty Rig. They're awesome.
Oh my God. So we got pirate metal and trucker metal?
Metal.
I'm good. I don't need anything else besides that.
And he was also in the band Trouble, which is a doom band. He was in Trouble for a little bit. And he's also a painter, actually. He has really cool paintings. Most of them are very political themed as well. But he's had exhibitions in the U.S., Scotland, Sweden, Italy. So just an interesting dude. Very New York, yet he's from Detroit. So what a great combination just to be this aggro front man.
Just a sweetheart.
Yeah. But we're going to dive into the first half of their career, mainly focusing on the stuff they did with Geffen Records. And then we'll have a part 2 that will be more of their independent years and up to date. So you'll notice that not only does Warrior Soul kind of change over the years, but his voice changes drastically as well. He's one of the singers that I can't really think of another one who's changed quite as much. Maybe if you ever listen to the first couple of Aerosmith albums, Steven Tyler's voice is way different. If you think of Dream On, that was on that first Aerosmith album, his voice on Dream On is very different than his voice now. Different,
I guess
just
I've never
different
really
tonality.
thought about that. I just always assume people like Geddy Lee, early albums, he's a soprano.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
But you can't sustain that, and you tend to get into more of a sustainable groove after that. And I guess Steven Tyler was the same way.
Yeah, and you'll hear Kory kind of go that way too. He starts off a little bit higher and more singy, and then he gets more and more gutty and punk as he goes along. So just part of the vocal cords maturing, I guess, and maybe having a little fun on the side. Maybe.
Extracurricular activities.
So let's jump into the very first Warrior Soul album that came out in 1990. The name of the album is Last Decade, Dead Century, and I remember reading about this in one of the magazines and then hearing it on, there used to be this syndicated show called Metal Shop. Did you ever get that at any of your radio stations back in the day?
God.
Late 80s.
I'm sure, because once again, we had, in about 89, there was an actual dedicated metal radio station in Tallahassee, Florida. I don't know how long it lasted, probably 2 or 3 years, but yeah, probably so. so.
Yeah. Well,
Because they did a lot of syndicated shows. It was only like one or two local DJs, and the rest of it was syndicated stuff.
Right. So if anybody out there remembers Metal Shop, that's where I first heard about this band. And I remember hearing a song. I don't remember which one. It may be the one that I've chosen. That may be the reason I've chosen. It's just in the back of my head. I remembered it. But I just remember thinking it was kind of like dangerous and unpredictable sounding. And hearing about the band even then, because they already had a reputation, because it took 2 years to get the album out of them because of issues.
Everybody knew them by now.
But if you go back and read about this album now, AllMusic, who does, they everything out there, and they do these sort of snapshots in time and tell you something about the album. If you ever want to know about any artist, any album, go to allmusic.com and they have all this stuff. But they said, and I thought this was interesting because it's a look back, they said that this debut missed the bullseye of rock immortality just by a hair, because they were drawing a lot of parallels between this album that came out in 1990 and an album that came out a year later from Nirvana. And they said there's a lot of parallels with the content, not as much the music, but the content of the lyrics and the attitude to Nirvana's Nevermind. And the only thing that they could point to in their review was that there was some missing ingredient for Warrior Soul to connect with that generation at that particular time that Kurt Cobain was able to do because he had some catchier songs. But I thought that was an interesting look back at this album. I never would have drawn that connection, but it kind of makes sense when you listen to it. It's metal riffs, a lot of political rants, more so than Cobain ever did. He was more. It was more about the individual, more so than it was about the government or the establishment.
It was heavy guitars. It wasn't technical guitars.
Yeah, and then, like I said, they were making a statement. It was a little uncomfortable sounding, and you didn't get uncomfortable from Nirvana. Like I remember when I heard this for the first time, I thought this is kind of dangerous and unpredictable, and it's the same feeling I got the first time I heard Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah, no question. The first time I heard them, I was like, oh God, these guys,
they're about something. And that's the same thing I get from this band, but I didn't get that from Nirvana. First time I heard Nirvana, I was like, damn, they sound like Social Distortion or something I heard 4 years ago. But
we've talked about how I thought it was a Weird Al Yankovic parody song. It was parodying punk rock. Like, this is so silly. A mulatto, my libido, and the lyrics were goofy, but then it took a couple of tries and it kind of hit me after that.
Yeah, Warrior Soul definitely more on the metal side. And I'm going to play a song that I sort of think is if you're comparing them to Nirvana, this would have been their Smells Like Teen Spirit in an alternate world.
Okay.
So we're going to play a song called The Losers from last decade, Dead Century, 1990.
Jobs, but they say you're strange.
That's definitely one song that I'd like to hear a couple more times. Once again, it usually takes a few times for the really good songs to grab me. A couple of thoughts. The lead was great, but I totally understand why this was not the Nirvana of bands where they change everything, because it sounded very much metal. It wasn't that far removed from a grittier Dream Theater. Said Queen, sorry. So, but I liked it, but with his voice, it was on the way to being more like a grunge song, but it wasn't quite there. His
Exactly.
voice wasn't
An in-betweener.
It was in between. It wasn't a screaming, sopranic voice that was very prevalent at the time. It had that little bit of a growl, but he still was kind of back on the 80s metal side.
And he's speaking to the exact same audience that the grunge bands would speak to and make a connection with. But this came out in 1990, and like you said, it's an in-between. It's more on the almost hair metal, sleaze metal side, but it's got that slant of grunge that grunge would take further.
And it sounds like a band that, like Mother Love Bone, that would have evolved into a full-on, popular grunge
That's
band.
A good comparison, actually.
They're one of the ones that influenced maybe the other bands that came out that were popular.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison, I think. All right, so let's move into their second album. And again, I mentioned that in episode 33, we were doing our wild card where we randomly select from a number that you guys pick, and then you have to guess what the name of the band is. And both you and Jeremy didn't know this one when I played it.
Well, to be honest, I didn't know any of the ones
That's
you
true.
played.
You got none. I think that episode, Jeremy only got one.
Yeah, for full disclosure, it's not like this was the one that I completely flubbed.
Yeah.
No.
I think it was 1-0.
Yeah.
We ended after 10
It was
songs.
a soccer match. It was an epic soccer match.
Yeah. But anyway, we played a song by Warrior Soul off of this second album, and both of you guys were like, I don't know what that was, but damn, that was good. I want to hear some more of that. We're going to hear some more.
Are we going to hear more?
We're going to hear more.
Nice. You pay off.
Yeah,
I like that.
So finally a payoff 2 years later. So this album has just been slagged by everyone. People apparently don't care for this album. It's actually my favorite. Of course, that's the way it always
goes. Who are
goes.
these people? I'll kick their ass.
Well, when I see reviews from the critics, who cares about them anyway?
Idiots.
But they definitely received a slagging in the press from this. Things like, it was too rushed. It didn't have the same impact as the first album. They're trying too hard. Like I said, this is my favorite album from
The
this
first
band.
one took 2 years. If they do it in a year, that seems rushed.
Yeah, to me, when I listen to it, I don't hear anything that I've read in reviews. What I hear is Kory Clarke doing his angst-ridden socio-political anthems, and he just goes a little further into anarchy.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
He definitely starts going, even though this came out in 91, so all of their first few albums, it's every year, back to back to back. And this one comes out in 91, so that's the year that grunge broke, right? And I'm pretty sure this came out before that happened, but you can already tell that he is even going more towards the punk route than the metal route, but it's still an in-betweener. So I played the title track from this album, which is my favorite song, but that's what I played for you and Jeremy, so I'm not going to play that again.
Oh, because I wouldn't remember. That'd be great
I know,
if you played the same damn song.
It's great. I'm going to play the opener, so it's actually an intro song that bleeds into the first song. And the reason I'm doing this is the opener's killer, and then what they did was they covered Joy Division for the first song on the album. And they did it in their way, and I think it's super cool.
Now you got my attention.
Yeah, I think this is super cool. Now, this album, Geffen was still pushing them. They would open, you mentioned this band just a minute ago, they would open for Queensryche on the Empire Tour.
Oh, that sounds like a good
Which
fit.
was a big one for Queensryche.
Oh,
that was their biggest
huge.
album.
Silent Lucidity.
Yep, and this was the band opening that tour. So why they didn't break, I don't know, but they didn't. But I'm going to play this song where I think if you hear this, you're going to be like, damn, they should have. And this should have been a hit.
lust. Cars just a car metallic blue turned red with rust. Close by the building site. Ain't a proof for forgotten you. Stop to let my senses turn love like a knife in you. And I was looking for a friend of mine. Had no time to yeah, looking for some friends of mine. Now the dogs in the houses look the same. I walk round and round, hands me to a dream. Trying to find a way, trying to find a way to get out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Four tall windows stand in a row. The lights shine like a neon show. No place to go. I must have died some time ago. And I was looking for a friend of mine. Yeah, I'm looking for some friends of mine.
One of these days, I'm going to cut you into little pieces.
I think they should have been on tour with Motorhead instead of Queensryche.
Oh, you just stole my thunder, yes. So this starts off with the Pink Floyd riff, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Da, 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 da. And I was waiting for it to change. Then about a minute and a half into it, it's like, oh, I see what this is. This is the Motorhead style of coming out and punching you in the face. And Lemmy's punching you with his right fist, and he just keeps doing it. And you're like, ow, ow. And you wait for him to change it up, but he just keeps punching you until the end of the song. And
Kory Clarke is doing it with a broken bottle.
Yeah, so he's hitting you with his broken bottle and stabbing you, and he just keeps doing it. You're like, ow, ow, stop, ow. But he keeps doing it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I got it. That's why I like this. It's just going to keep going. We don't have to go all over the map to be badasses. We're just going to keep this one theme going. Yep. And we are the government. I'm like, yeah, and then it stops and it changes once again back straight into Motorhead.
So that was the intro, and then it went into that was a Joy Division song, Interzone from Unknown Pleasures. That's from Unknown Pleasures, which is a very well known.
The intro or the
second half.
Okay,
but they rocked it out the way that
they did it the way you're supposed to. Where I couldn't tell what the hell the song was, but I'm glad it was their version of it. But yeah, once again, that was totally up my alley with Motorhead, just driving. That it's funny that clicks with me because once again, I love bands like Pink Floyd that their flow, they change, they ebb, they don't stay on the same riff too long, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden Motorhead comes along and just we're gonna do the same chord for 4 minutes,
and you're gonna like it.
You're gonna like it, yeah, and I do, and so it's got a lot of a punk edge going through that with just the heaviness and not too noodly. So they went from just metal in the first one that is very typical to this is more of a punk edge and doing some Joy Division covers. Which hats off to you, sir.
I know, right? I think all the naysayers can kiss my ass. Yes. This album, Drugs, God, and the New Republic, rocks.
That's all you need in life right there.
I love this
recipe
album.
For happiness.
So anyway, let's move on now that I'm pissed off telling me that's a bad album. That's a great album. And so somehow Geffen keeps them on. But at this point, Kory's like, you guys are not putting enough into us. Mm-hmm. We should be huge. Kory always felt like this band should have been huge, as we do.
Yes.
And he felt like he was not getting represented correctly from Geffen. And so he thought, you know what? I'm going to give you the best damn album that we can ever give you. And in 1992, they put out Salutations from the Ghetto Nation. And this is another badass album. And this is the one that the critics liked the most. They felt like this regained the momentum of their punk meets metal power of the first album. And this is also a fan favorite. So critics and the fans aligned on this one. But I still say the second album is my favorite. But this album is packed with a ton of pissed off anthems that if you listen to now, the whole album still resonates. Because it's exactly the same crap that we're going through all these years later.
Good grief.
So in 2005, this album ranked number 381 in Rock Hard magazine's book of 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. So,
sneeze that.
It's not bad. Pretty cool.
I mean, we were, 520. We didn't quite make it.
Yeah. So, Kory's relationship with Geffen was starting to go south, and in interviews, he was being a little more bitter. But, Axl Rose was doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's nothing new.
It wasn't that new, but...
Musicians being angry with their record company.
Yeah, he was definitely blaming Geffen in the press, and he was talking about him on stage. Yeah. So, you can see what's coming in the future for this band. One thing I read, this is a review that I read that I found that I thought was really cool. article, and it says, where Phil Anselmo from Pantera, where his anger has decidedly desperate sour grapes quality to it, Kory's fury always manages to sound fresh. Hard-hitting hard rock with a political bent and a dash of metal and punk to spice things up. I may not agree with Mr. Clarke all the time, but he always makes me want to bang my head. Great driving music if you happen to be in a demolition derby.
Ooh, I like that reference.
I like that. So,
which is Atlanta traffic, basically.
Yeah. So here you go. If you're driving, here's your driving song. This one's called Shine Like It from Salutations from the Ghetto Nation 1992.
I hope your insurance is paid up.
Untouched faces smile. Look
before that song, I agreed with you that they should have been huge. Now that I've heard that song, I'm actually a little bit angry that they weren't huge because holy crap, that was Jane's Addiction. They were pretty big. I mean,
They were really big.
We know who they are. We talk about them. They're on the radio, other places, and a lot of people have their t-shirts. So why the hell was that any different than Jane's Addiction at the time?
1992.
Same exact time.
Yeah. Think about who was being pushed in 1992. The first thing that came in my mind other than Jane's Addiction was Soundgarden.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains.
Yes, Angry
This
Chair.
band
Listen to
fits
Alice in
in
Chains,
perfectly.
Angry Chair. The beginning, both those songs beginning. That was not a metal song. They had evolved by then, so I understand. But you know what? Soundgarden did too. Early on, they sounded like a metal band. Hell, Alice in Chains was a full-on hair
Soundgarden was
band.
always in between.
Yeah, and so why the hell was that not big? Once again, I agreed before that, but now I'm kind of pissed.
Right.
And because you played that song, I want their T-shirt. So if you see a Warrior Soul T-shirt, let me know. I'll buy it.
We will reach out to Kory and we'll just get one.
Maybe he's got a couple of. He's
he'll
got
probably
some
make
boxes.
us one.
I would love it. I would pay $5 extra if he made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, that was good.
I think Kory Clarke has had and has reason to be pissed off that his band didn't go further, especially given the timing of this. That song should have had a video, one.
Yes.
And two, it should have been in heavy rotation right next to any of the songs off Bad Motorfinger or, Dirt.
Was their look any different than an Alice in Chains? Or I mean, the look was pretty subdued.
It was pretty much the same.
They weren't wearing spandex and poofy hair or anything like that.
Nothing like that. They were.
I got nothing then. I got nothing.
I mean, this was a sleazy.
It's not often I'm speechless, but now I am.
Kind of dirty looking, grungy looking band from New York. There's no reason. And then, so that was 92. And, just another year or two later, you did have your Rage Against the Machine come out. And I mean, as far as song content, lyrical content, totally fits with what was going on in the early 1990s and the way people were feeling. The only thing I can think is he just pissed off the wrong people, maybe at the record company to where it just wasn't going to happen.
Even if he thought they weren't really doing their job, after you publicly berate them repeatedly, they probably are doing their job after that.
Yeah. And at that point in time, it was still a record company game. Like, you were not going to get anywhere unless you had the backing in 1992.
No internets.
Yeah, no interwebs. So let's move on to the next album. And by this point, Kory is pissed. So it's just an all-out war between him and Geffen. He wants out of the contract. He has other labels that have said they want him. They want Warrior Soul. And so, but he's beholden to DGC, which is David Geffen. And he goes, okay, well, I'm going to give you this album called Chill Pill. And we're going to botch it on purpose so that we can get out of our contract. And that's what he does. This is a weird album, and he did it all on purpose, apparently, so that he could get
the equivalent
dropped.
of the Neil Young disco album. What was it? New Wave?
Oh, yes, exactly. The
Same thing.
Trans, which was the electronic Neil Young, and then he did a rockabilly album.
Well, no, I could see him rockabilly. That's not that far away, but the electronic stuff, that was weird.
Yeah. It's still a cool album. It still has some cool songs on it.
Yeah.
Definitely has some weird stuff on it. And he even has one of my favorite guys, Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks. If you've never listened to Hanoi Rocks, great band. But he plays harmonica on a track on this album, which is kind of cool. This is the last album with the original lineup until 2000 when they finally got back together. This is it. This is the final album. This was the straw that broke the camel's back with Geffen. So this is the album that got them out of their deal. So I'm gonna play a song that I think is really good off of Chill Pill. Not every song is superb like the previous three albums, but this one's good. So this is called Shock 'Em Down from Chill Pill, 1993.
Show, yes, a very old show, watch me. Kick it off.
how many times have bands wanted to get out of their contract and the record companies are like, no, you got one more album, and the band's just completely half-ass something, save all their good material. Like, how many times has that worked out for the record company for them to go, no, you have to do at least one more album with us, knowing full well they're going to get crap, instead of just going, all right, fine, whatever. They spend all the money on the recording and then they get nothing from it. So I don't understand.
It's a tax write-off.
I guess so. I'll forget about that.
If you think about it as a business, it's a tax write-off. I would say if I were put your head back into 1993 when this came out, this particular song. If I were at Geffen and this band was on my roster and I saw what peers of theirs from New York just did with a big hit, I would put this band on tour with that band, White Zombie, and I would put this song out as the single.
Yes.
And you know what? This could have been another Thunder Kiss.
I could see that. I mean, the previous album was definitely more Alice in Chains, James Dixon, but this one fits perfectly with that. That's a genius idea. Why aren't you should send them your resume. You know what you're doing.
That White Zombie album came out in 92. It broke into that whole groove metal scene. This fits in perfectly. Now, there's some other stuff on here that's a little questionable, but that song, to me, that's a hit, man. Compare it to
Back then,
White
it would have
Zombie.
been, yeah.
I mean, Rob Zombie's still doing his same shtick these days,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And I don't get it.
Is his shtick, he needs a shower? He needs a bath? He just always looks really dirty.
He does. That is his shtick.
Is that his shtick? Nasty.
Is dirt.
No, go clean yourself there, buddy.
So guess what happens?
Yeah.
They got dropped by Geffen.
Oh, you know,
How about
go
that?
figure. Got what they wanted.
Now, unfortunately, I mentioned this was the last album with the original lineup, too. So
it doesn't sound good.
Doesn't quite work out the way Kory wanted it to. There were apparently some major labels who wanted Warrior Soul. They didn't like what they heard with this album. And the times they were a-changing.
Shot themselves in the foot.
And you think about it, going into 94, late 93, things are changing a little bit. The grunge thing was slowing and ebbing, as you say, as well.
And mellowing a little bit.
They're grabbing up a bunch of sound-alikes. And this band's not a sound-alike. They kind of have their own thing. So, they do not get picked up by another major. And so not only does he lose a lot of his folks that are in the band, but he also doesn't get that major label. So he goes with an independent. And I think originally he was going to retitle the band the Space Age Playboys. He ended up just going with, it's still Warrior Soul, but they called the album the Space Age Playboys. And at that point in time, he went more towards his punk tendencies, and they put out a super solid release. This album's great, but it's not on a major label. So a little harder to get it out there, but they still did some great things with this album. They performed a headlining UK tour. They played the 1995 Dynamo Open Air Festival in Europe, and they also played 1995's Donington Monsters of Rock, which is a huge festival. So this band's very well liked in the UK, and I guess Europe and the UK really enjoyed this album from them, although it still didn't move units the way that it could have. They also, like I said, they went more punk, so they kind of went that cyberpunk. That was a thing for a while. Even Billy Idol did it. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, Billy Idol did this whole like cyberpunk thing.
No, I don't remember that at all.
So it was like a minute
Just
where
brief
some bands were doing
blip.
it, and that's kind of what
was it about as long as swing dancing?
Exactly.
Yeah, about that long. Just in time for I think there was one club in our little bar area in Buckhead.
In Buckhead, yeah, swing bar.
Yeah, it opened up about for 6 months, and all of a sudden it was gone.
It had a slide though. That was cool. You could go from the top level to the lower level.
Oh, I don't even
slide.
remember that.
I remember it.
I couldn't dance.
I went down that thing drunk. It was not good.
Liability. Imagine that.
They wouldn't do that these days.
No, you wouldn't put a fire pole where people are drinking. Oh, wait a minute. I did.
Yeah, well,
I totally did.
Well, you're so 90s.
I've got good attorneys.
So, unfortunately, even though they did all these cool things, they put out this album and they played all these great tours and shows, festival shows, 3 more members, including his longtime badass bass player, which I don't know if you've listened to the bass and the songs that we've played, but that's the same guy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Pete.
Oops.
So Pete McClanahan left the band, and that kind of put the nail in the coffin for Warrior Soul. So Clarke would actually retire the band a year later after this release, or so we think.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But first, let's play Rocket Engines, the very first song off the Space Age Playboys. If you're going to start with Warrior Soul, either start at album number 2, in my opinion, or this album.
Atomic freedom burnt out like
still think that would have fit in.
1994, that's still what...
Maybe not the biggest song from 1994, but it would have fit in with what was going on because it was still kind of anything goes. Like early grunge, there was definitely grunge. And then by 94, it was starting to fan out into all kinds of other bands.
Of stuff going on. And I just don't get it, man. I love this band. And this album especially, this is my second favorite album. It's fantastic. The only thing I guess that didn't work out for them is just the fact that it didn't come out on a major.
Yeah.
But I mean,
doesn't
just
help.
So solid. This band is so good. And his voice is so unique. And when you hear that voice, you know it's Kory Clarke. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but his voice is starting slightly to change a little bit. It's getting a little gruffer. And you'll see when we go into our part 2 how much his voice changes. But the voice is a muscle. So
his English accent is more pronounced.
His Detroit, New York English accent.
Yeah, his northeastern United States English accent.
All right, so basically they're done after this one in 95, but we did get an album called Odds and Ends in the States, which was a 17-song collection of demos recorded on 8-track and tons of leftover material from the other
my
albums.
dad's 260Z had an 8-track.
Different kind of 8-track.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the U.S., it's called Odds and Ends. If you were to get this album in Europe or the U.K., it's called Fucker.
Oh, really? Well, let's just come right out there and not beat that bush too much.
So this just shows how much great output this band had. 17 songs that weren't on any of the other albums, and they all hold up really well. And, you know, this was the end of the story, or so we thought, until around 2000. I'm going to play a song that is could have been the title track from the first album, but it wasn't on the first album. But we're going to play the song Last Decade, Dead Century. You can tell this was recorded early on because you can definitely hear the tonality, the difference in his voice here.
Okay.
So check it out. Here's Last Decade, Dead Century.
That was very different. It had a completely different reaction with me than the other songs that were very Motorheadish, got you worked up. That was just a grooving song that relaxed me, just really got into it. It was definitely not a radio hit, but would have been a great track on an album.
Yeah, a little too long to be.
Yeah, but still, it's a really good song.
Had to be, and I don't know this for a fact because there weren't really notes about it in the CD, but I assume that was something they considered for the first album. Obviously, that's where the title came from for the first album, but it got cut because it didn't quite mix with the rest of the things.
Yeah, because they were, once again, metalish on that first album, and so that was completely different than the other songs.
They had a little groove to it, even a little funkiness, dare you say, and
dare we say.
Loved the bass playing.
Yeah, now that stood out even to a non-bass player like me. That was really good, you could tell.
And it almost, to me, had a little bit of, and I never thought about this before, but it totally makes sense for this band, but a little bit of that Clash kind of feel to it. If you think like London Calling era Clash, and even the vocals and or the lyrics, it's very much anti-establishment, fight the government kind of Clash themes from
it just
those early days.
Never goes out of style, unfortunately.
Back to the bass playing, Pete McClanahan, that had to be him because it sounds like his bass playing, I'm assuming. And actually, he just passed away recently, so R.I.P. Pete. Man, that guy was good. So good. So that is what I have for you. The 6 songs up until the year 1996 when that came out, the Odds and Ends album, and thought they were done.
But wait.
But just wait.
Dun,
There's
dun,
more.
Dun. Dun, that was good. Yeah, I'm happy we finally got back around to that. We circled back, as they like to say.
We circled back.
And
that's
the
very
corporate
corporate.
world. Yeah,
corporate.
yeah.
That's what Geffen told us to say. We circled back.
Yeah, so we're following his playbook.
Playbook. There's another one.
Yeah. Oh, God damn. I'm not even in that world. I'm still regurgitating it.
Nice.
I was in it for 3 months. That's
enough.
That was enough.
It was enough for you.
Yeah. I went from, coat and tie job to work boots within about 3 months. And, it didn't take long. But it's funny how that's what I wanted for years. I'm going to, go to work for a big corporation, work my way up the ladder. Yeah. I prepared for it. And I get there. I'm like, no. Cubicles are horrible. And no, I don't want to do this.
Not me, man. I would never work for a big corporation.
No, you're such a rebel.
I only work for one of the biggest in the world.
Oh, let me take a sip of this soda we won't mention.
Yeah.
No,
I've been working for corporate America since 1996.
You do a very good job of dealing with that crap and don't know how you do it, honestly. I couldn't do it.
Well, I don't work for Geffen.
No, you don't. That's the big thing. Yeah, I mean, he must have been a dick because Carly Simon, You're so
Neil
vain.
Young.
Well, no, I mean, she wrote "You're So Vain" about him.
Oh,
it was finally revealed after all these years. She wouldn't tell who it was for, and finally she revealed like 5 years ago.
It was David Geffen.
It was David Geffen.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, there you go. Until next time, people.
See ya
later.